Where's it?
Where is it?
We would really like to know where
I
it
looked it up
is.
on Google Maps. Didn't bring me anywhere.
Nowhere.
It does not say famous rock star when you look up it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Pearson.
I'm Tara Shannon.
Sam Stone.
And we're on the Syn Wagon, so thanks for jumping on along for the ride. We talk about music and the music business, and basically at the end tell you to do what you want, but we give you some information along the way.
Yeah. We're all just figuring it out together.
Exactly. Yeah. We're just going through it one tiny little step at a time, one tiny little hour-long episode at a time.
Yeah, we often fall off the wagon in more ways than one.
Yeah. Lose a wheel here and there. Yeah.
Exactly. We're a tricycle again. We're a tricycle wagon again.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, this episode I thought we'd talk about the beautiful saying that's been going around for a very long time of "you've made it." The you've achieved. Yeah. What have we made? What have we achieved? When do you make it? So let's dive deep into that.
Where is this mythical place?
Where's the mythical place of making?
Where is it?
Where is it?
We would really like to know where
I looked it up on Google Maps. Didn't bring me anywhere.
Nowhere.
It does not say famous rock star when you look up it.
It's not there. Surprisingly, Google Maps has everything.
How do you know
There's just
when
a
you've
picture
made it?
of a clown, a very scary clown.
Yes, Pennywise.
No, don't. No, I hate no.
There'll be lots of balloons at your birthday
Oh
party.
God,
Lots of balloons.
No,
Tara does
I have a
not
terrible
like
fear of
balloons.
balloons. For those who don't know that,
Yeah.
Great. Now we're telling everybody.
We've given some ammo.
Yes, I have a balloon phobia.
Yeah,
Childhood
I'm sure
trauma.
you're not alone.
You know who else is scared of balloons? I think I've told you this already. Jose.
Oh, Jose's a booking agent we work with.
Yes, we were
Also
chatting.
scared of
Yes,
balloons.
and we're giving away his secrets, but I don't think it's private.
That also doesn't
he's terrified of
surprise me.
balloons, and so am I. And I was like, I know, right? He's the only person I've ever met that has had the same fear.
You two are like the same person. That's really what it is. You guys met, and we were both the first time I remember meeting Jose was that at it was it CMAOs or CCMAs? That we first met?
Probably CMAOs. Yeah.
CMAOs, because we had met the first time we all got there, and then we had gone back to the Airbnb we were staying at to get ready. And Jose's like, "I'm coming," and we had all the alcohol because we brought a lot with us. And I remember having conversations. No, you never stay with us when it comes to these things. You're like, all the artists go on your own. I will be in the comfy hotel room with my own bed, which is fair because the first night we did an Airbnb with all the artists together, we were up until 4 a.m.
Yeah, the first time we ever all met our mostly current group of artists that we work with. Yes. It was we had all been working together for quite some time, but it was over the pandemic and stuff. We had never actually met in person. So the first time we were all in a room together, dangerous.
Yes.
Dangerous.
Which is why I stay in a hotel.
Yeah,
it was great.
It was team building. It was bonding. It was bonding time.
And that's it. We're the outreach for Willow Sound, the syndicate. You are the headmaster. Do you know what I mean? Dumbledore from Harry Potter. He doesn't just, the only person he talks to is Harry Potter, but he doesn't room with the Gryffindors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has his own
little cabin.
Own little cabin castle,
right.
you know?
Yeah. That's right.
That's you. We get to the troublemakers, you know?
Exactly.
We are the ambassadors.
So when you met Jose,
I was like,
we're
back on track.
So similar. We have so many similarities.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them is fear of balloons.
Yeah, the balloons, doesn't surprise me because again, I just remember listening to him talk and being like, is this Tara? Did they switch souls and bodies? I don't know what's happening. But yeah, so other than Pennywise and it, let's go to the making it. So this is a phrase that a lot of people hear. I feel like a phrase a lot of the public or people who are not necessarily in the music industry say, you know? I think the first time I heard it was I had co-written the song As Long as There's a Bar, and Joe Diffie had cut it. And when that came out, people were like, oh my God, like you made it. You have like a cut on this. And it's like, made it where? There's no money coming in.
Right.
I'm not like now writing with everyone. Like it didn't necessarily, like it was great for social media. It was absolutely amazing to get that first cut, but that didn't really change anything from where I was. I was still living in an apartment. I was still busting my butt trying to make money and pay for rent, you know, like that didn't really change anything. So when was the first time, like, did you guys ever hear this? When was the first time you came across that phrase?
For me, I mean, I've definitely never had anyone say to me personally, you've made it now. But I have been on the side of like when you make it, or I know one day you're gonna make it.
Yes.
That
I just
sort
know
of
one
thing.
day you're gonna
I just
make
know one day you're gonna make it. Or one day when you make it, these are all the things that we're gonna do.
Don't forget about us little people when you
one
make
day
it.
when you make it. Yeah, exactly. And it's just realistically, I think there's a very minute, small percentage of people where like they get some sort of break in quotes that like their life kind of changes overnight. I think that does happen to some people, but it's like minuscule. And I think for those people, it really is like a fluke, happenstance, luck. It's written in the stars and it happens. But I think, I don't know, I wouldn't even put a percentage on it. But
I think a lot of it is the perception of that, like what you're looking at and seeing. That's like, it's also, it's manipulated in a way, because what comes across to us as this whole, oh my gosh, this rise to stardom. And, you know, like I remember when Olivia Rodrigo, driver's license.
Yep.
When that was like, that came out, it was all a rage. I was like, oh, okay. So curious who this artist is. And I was seemingly out of nowhere. Well, it's not out of nowhere. No. She's a Disney kid, you know, like, and so if you look at when we look and say, oh, okay, that person made it, or they're like the top 2% or whatever. I think if you scratch and dig, you'll see all of the,
for sure,
you know, things that happen behind
and it's
the
like
scenes.
a strategic marketing thing that the label or the team, the PR team does, because everybody loves that story of like people, whether you're in the industry, just a music lover, listener, and that's how you're in the industry. Because people are always like, oh, you know, I just love music. Like, I don't really know anything about the business. The consumer actually knows a lot about the business that they don't realize. And you do have a lot of power as a consumer. But the label loves to put out that story because people do feed on it. And they love when they hear, you know, Joe Smith, just like a farm kid from where out of nowhere, someone heard him in his YouTube video and now he's got a #1 song and it just like happened like that. Well, to your point, it's never really like that.
Yeah.
There's usually
months, especially in years, this day and age. Like this isn't how it works in this day and age. Like
there's so much saturation and just to like frame the whole concept of, and when somebody says that, I just know you're going to make it. You know, what are they really saying when they say that? I really love your music. You know, I think you have what it takes, you know, all of this kind of stuff. But there is a real lack of fundamental understanding of how this thing works. And also, in fairness to the public and the people that say that stuff, or even artists absorbing it and saying, like, when I make it, you know, I'm going to buy my parents a house or a car. All of that sort of psychology around it, that conditioning comes from the major label model of things. It comes from one model, and it's that messaging is perpetuated by things like The Voice, The Launch, American Idol, Canadian Idol, you know, The Shot, you know, like all of that language around that stuff keeps perpetuating this story or this myth that you get, you know, discovered and you get this big break, you know, and when people say that to me, I'll say, okay, great. How many American Idols can you name? Name how many people won, right? Or tell me who won, you know, who won The Voice in the last season. And most people can't answer.
Oh, yeah. And I think it comes to about, it's selling what we all want, right? There's some part of every human being that wants to be discovered and wants to be made special, right? And so when this story of this artist breaking out and being heard in like a bar by a producer, and then like them taking them and making them who they are now and getting a single out, like that makes it relatable in the sense that anyone can go through that. This can be any person. It could be you, right? And it's spilling that rather than the like years and years of work and development and work, potentially working with that team. Like you see like Chris Stapleton seemed like an overnight, like I remember when he like first released his album and like literally won like every award. And it was like so many people were like, who is this guy? Like
it was the CMA performance that did it.
Yeah. And it was
with
so
Justin
many.
Timberlake.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And it seemed like he came out of nowhere, but he had been well, he was a writer for so long. He still is a writer, obviously, but he'd been slugging it out. He was dropped by his label, you know,
Same
picked
with
back
right
up
now,
again.
like Luke Combs, Lainey Wilson, they're like taking over. They've been in Nashville writing and been like friends and like coming up together for 10 years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it seems like, oh, now they're everywhere. And like, look, it's been like every song Luke Combs puts out is a hit. But like, he worked his butt off
and
to
not
get
just
to that
him,
point.
and not just him. Behind every success like that, there's a really hard-working, dedicated team of people inside those labels and publishing companies that become like just being signed to a big label, you know, is not enough for anything to happen because like it's 2% of the signings actually make enough money and to carry the label and all the rest of the roster. So 98% of the time you can be signed and shelved, or it just doesn't go your way, or they're dropped, or so many
sometimes
things
you
can
get
happen.
signed literally to protect their already like current successful artists. Sometimes people are signed and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm being signed, if they choose to go ahead with that, which the whole what does it mean to be signed is another conversation we've touched upon, I think, in previous episodes, which we can get into again. But, you know, sometimes you are signed to protect the asset that currently is already successful making money. Yeah. So if you let's say it's Taylor Swift is on this label and obviously successful and killing it. If another artist comes along that is very similar to Taylor Swift, you could be signed and shelved so that you are not competing with Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I mean, she's like her example right now because she is in charge of the planet.
Yes.
Currently. All aspects, but yes, to your point, you know, an artist that they've already dumped money into.
Yeah,
she's kind of gone into another
because it's like they don't want another
show about her,
but they don't want another label to sign that artist that is similar to their artist, and then have like a direct competition. They're competing for the same fans, the same type of music. So often it's a business decision to just like buy up real estate.
Well,
it's
business.
Yeah.
It's all business.
Yeah.
When it comes to that side of things, it's all business, right? Like we come at it from the artist, where if you like are the artist that writes your own songs and does all of that, like we come it from this artistic, well, they're going to love my music and that's why they want to be a part of it. Like those, especially when it comes to big labels, they want to see, well, is their stuff selling? Like how many fans do they have? Can we basically bring those fans over to our other artists? Or is this person getting a bit too popular with our artists that we have that we're pushing? Let's buy and shelf. Like there's so many different reasons that people go out that.
It will 100% of the time be about business though. And not about, it's such a complicated thing. And this is the problem with this, with the music industry. I mean, there's many problems, but it's not cut and dry. So you cannot definitively say, you will never be discovered and somebody won't come along and believe in you that is in a position of power to do something for you, because that's not categorically true. But it's not a business plan.
Yes.
So you as an independent artist, you're in business for yourself. So the idea of, floating around and slugging it out until you're discovered and then signed, and I say, plucked from the masses and elevated to stardom because you're specialer than everybody else. That idea is the equivalent of sitting on the corner of a street, sipping the coffee you made and waiting to be discovered by Tim Hortons if your plan is to open a coffee shop.
100%.
which is insanity.
Yeah.
You know, you would open your coffee shop and
For
you would get
sure.
your customers and you would
Yeah.
perfect it and build your business.
And then Tim Hortons will buy you.
Yeah. And then exactly. And
Yeah.
then if a bigger chain comes along and says, you know, we want to gobble you up and you choose to sell it, good for you if you want or
Yeah,
not.
For sure.
You know,
and people
so-
don't often realize, like you talked about I think like the fame piece of like
Yes.
being signed. Like there are people who just really want to be known and exposed and like they're chasing fame in a way.
Yeah.
But then people think that when you're signed, all of a sudden, like you have all this money and, you know, like you're
Yeah.
financially successful. We know so many successful artists, and by successful, it's like, what does that mean nowadays? What
Yeah.
does it mean
Yeah.
to be a successful artist? But we know people who are, let's say, signed to labels, seemingly seem like they're on top of the world. And I'm not saying they're not loving what they're doing, but the financial piece is like, you think like, oh, they must have money. Like, look how successful they are. They're everywhere, their songs. But the label really, often it's years and years, if ever, like they're cash flowing what you're doing. So you're not like putting out the money. But and they're maybe paying for like your clothes and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but you're going home to your same apartment. Like you're not receiving cash because the album fronted all that, or the label fronted all that money, and they're going to keep collecting all the money you're making until they are paid back for everything and then some.
Exactly.
So it's not like, yes, it's nice when you have someone cash flowing your project. I'm not saying that isn't nice, but you're selling something over.
It's
for
the
that.
difference between being an employee and being a business owner. So when you
Yeah.
sign with a major label, which can be really, really a wonderful opportunity, if you have the right champions for you inside that organization, the label in and of itself is just an entity. It's the people that are going to champion you, and they're going to sit in those meetings and fight for you,
Exactly.
and sit with those DSPs and fight for space on those playlists. Like you need somebody who's championing you and your music, and you know I forgot what I was going to say. It's gone.
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah, it'll come back.
So, and then going to like talking about like just sitting, like being that aspect of waiting to be discovered is like sitting on the side with your coffee, waiting for Tim Hortons to be like, what great coffee, we're going to buy your beans, right? Like what these artists who are like, who have that image of being discovered or an overnight success. These are artists who are hustling, who've been hustling for so long. Like I think of Tennille Townes. When I went to my first CCMAs, so Canadian Country Music Awards, they do a full week. And they have panels and seminars. When I went to the first one back in, I'd say 2015, I went. She was in the songwriter rounds, like the big songwriter rounds that they host. She was already a known country artist in that community. And she moved to Nashville and she works there and has been writing there for years.
Yeah.
And is now like on tours, on the radio, like, and signed and doing all this big stuff. But she was known already.
Yeah.
She was working. So whether like,
and if she was in a CCMA right around in 2015, she probably has been like chances are at least 5 years of work before that.
oh, 100% at least. So like she's been crushing it and really hustling for like 15 years to get to where she is now. And people are now just like, she is now being more globally discovered, more nationally discovered on that scale, right?
Because it's always it's a growth process, right? Like it's
Exactly.
not, there's no magic wand that a label waves and all of a sudden you're selling out tours. I mean, having a hit song is an obvious thing. That is a situation where when you have a hit song, and at radio particularly, internationally, you know, then it starts, that's a huge game changer for you, because then you can really start selling tickets and stuff. So there are examples of artists who have, you know, worked and hustled and then sign a deal, and they, you know, they do get these hit songs, and, you know, it's lightning in a bottle. And it, I mean, less and less now, because the whole landscape is shifting on, like, if there is no clear path to breaking an artist right now, there's no, like, the whole star maker thing, like making people star, it doesn't happen the same anymore now. now the way that it is, but I remember what I was going to say. So the difference between being signed and being an independent artist is the difference between being an employee and owning your own business. So when you sign with a label and you sort of sign over full artistic control, which you have to do typically when you start, you know, you're just giving your job and your assignments and a paycheck essentially, you know, and that paycheck though is at the beginning is often just a draw or an advance, and it's given to you again. It's something called a recoupable.
Yes.
So that means that, you know, you'll get, I don't know, let's just say for the sake of math, you know, $1,000 a month to live, which means you don't have to go work a full-time job or whatever the math is. That money is an advance against future earnings. So it will be recouped. That's sort of like being an employee, but not worse, but a little bit worse, because at least as an employee, you know, when you get your paycheck, it's actually your money. You can keep it, but that is not often the case when you're starting with a label. And when you're an independent artist, truly independent, you're running your own business. So you're calling all the shots. So you're the CEO and the CFO and the COO and the CIO, and you're all the C's and all the letters, because you're doing everything.
You're all the C's, you're all the letters.
You know, because you're doing everything, but you're also then in control and you own all of your stuff. And that is the best financial position to be in. The challenge is if you want your reach. So if you want to have a bigger reach, like, you know, the vision of the, you talked about what is success. You know, we're sort of fed this imagery that success or making it looks like, you know, an international tour selling out stadiums, that is the epitome of success and making it. Well, if that is your career goal and that's the kind of career that you'd like to have, there are certain steps you need. Well, the amount of talent you have, there's so many things that go into that, and time and runway and the right team and all that good stuff, you know, but that isn't the only example of success. So defining what success is for you personally is integral to the sentence making it.
100%.
Right? And also the other thing that people do, it's like they chase this thing called a record deal, and they get one, and then they think they've made it. But that is the beginning of the even harder work.
And sadly, to my previous point, for some people, that is the end.
Yes, it can be.
Which is so sad, because now you've signed your life away. Again, it doesn't mean record deals are all bad. Like, that's not what we're saying. No. But you have to know the bed that you're getting into.
100%.
And people need to be educated on what they're signing and what they're giving away. And there are scenarios where it works out great.
Yep.
You know, but you also hear scenarios where it doesn't work out because the people were not informed.
Well, more often than not, it's rare that it works out great. I mean, and also, but in fairness, and being a businesswoman too, and having built, you know, a group of companies in the sort of, you know, the multi-million-dollar version of business, which I've done, I understand if it was my millions of dollars that I was putting into an artist, I would want full control over everything.
Yeah.
I want to lock down and secure every single way I can make that money back.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Well, you need to protect yourself,
and you have shareholders to
to
answer to. So there's nothing inherently evil about anything, and this is why it's difficult to talk about honestly, because there's such a mixture of misunderstanding, miseducation, miseducation, is it, or lack of education, and so artists are fed this conditioning that, okay, well, now I'm signed. So the word signed becomes this differentiator. It becomes this signal that you have reached a new level. So, but from a business standpoint, like, you really have to understand, like you said, you know, what are you saying yes to? Yes. What's the trade? And that's always a great question to ask yourself in business, is what's the trade? Mm-hmm. Anytime you are saying yes to something or paying for something, like as a consumer, it's pretty easy. Like, I'm going to go buy these socks. So the trade is $13 for my Roots pair of socks, right?
It's definitely, if they're Roots, they're more than $13.
Roots, yeah, those are like,
they're so comfy, cozy.
Root socks,
but that's
$50.
And again, so it comes to this too, going on that, you know that because it's under the Roots label, that these socks are going to be cozy, they're going to last long, they are worth the money you're spending on it as a consumer.
I choose to see that.
Yes.
So it's like, consumer decisions are very personal, right? Like, to me, it's worth paying the money for these socks, right? Yeah. Because I love the brand. I love I'm guessing it's still Canadian. I have a sneaking suspicion it was bought by an American company, but the idea of supporting Canada is a big deal for me when I buy stuff. But I know people in my life that would be like, you're nuts spending. Like they would only spend money on socks at the dollar store, for example.
Oh yeah.
You know, but we place value on the things that we buy. And that's no different in music. Like, you know, that's one of the concepts or psychologies we use with the independent model. Well, it's used everywhere, obviously, because it works, but leveraging people's desire for the brand to make money. So that's like your VIP packages, your meet and greets, your anything that's kind of bumped up, you know, in price, and people will pay it because they want access and they value that experience, that brand, that artist, that music and stuff. So one thing, you know, major labels are very good at, obviously, is that whole thing. And they have, you know, the sort of the rungs of the ladder as you're sort of developing out your audience and stuff. At some point, you can't access the next level without partnering with a major company like that, because they really do sort of own and control most of the major if not all of the distribution outlets.
Yes.
And that's just the nature of corporations and how they're structured, and all the parent corporations owning the same, like the parent companies owning the corporations and stuff. So it can be a really frustrating experience for independent artists trying to break through, even just commercial radio, for example, which is, that ties into the whole making it thing, because people are like, my song's on the radio, I've made it. You know, like that whole idea is like, oh, radio's playing you. It's still this validator, this, you know, this signal thing that tells the public, you know, that you are in a next level. You know, but it is almost impossible to access mainstream commercial radio as an independent artist not connected to a major label in some way.
100%. So we've talked a lot about that and that label and being signed, but really, which we've all touched upon so far, is that making it and success is all about you as the individual. What does that actually mean to you, right? Like you were saying, Tara, before, it's to the public. As a society, we have kind of deemed making it as like Chris Stapleton, Beyonce, like, you know, that's like the concept that a lot of people have for making it. But really, it's success. What is success to you? What to you is making it in whatever industry you're in, but in the music industry? When you can be like, I am a successful artist because of this, right? What are those levels? And we kind of mentioned some people do want that. Some people, it's the signing, the stadium tours,
it's
all
like
of that.
Having 1 million followers, whatever it is.
Exactly. So let's kind of jump on this. What to you both is that sense of making it or success for you personally? Obviously, we can't talk about anyone else because we're only ourselves. But, or like certain artists that we work with that you like have had these conversations with, but what is kind of generally making it and success to you both?
I think for me, it's pretty simple. I had like a full-time career in terms of like making a salary and being like
back
comfortable.
when you made money.
Yeah, comfortable in my life. And then like a crazy lunatic, I quit my job and decided to do music full time during the pandemic. But for me, it's just like getting like success for me in music would be, you know, making a comfortable living around the same point as I was before, but while doing music. For me, that's success. And having like a fan base that's connected, and ideally owning my music and stuff while doing that would just, if I could make like a comfortable living, just going back and forth across Canada and wherever else that would have me, and play songs and just be happy doing that, and still like working with other artists and stuff, for me, that would be nice. Anything more than that, I would like assess as it comes.
Yeah. And to go to the layer underneath that, comfortable living is where that's where all the juicy stuff is.
Yeah. It's different for everybody.
That's right. So for you, comfortable living also, if you don't mind me jumping in.
Yeah.
As I know,
absolutely.
Also includes
You've
smart
been along for this whole ride. So
yeah.
yeah. Since you were only, I don't know, 8. But for you, because financial stability really matters to you, so you have a home, you own a home. So comfortable living for you is the ability to keep making your mortgage payment and your bills and having that financial security of that you're investing in this asset.
And if I were to choose at some point to have a family, to like be able to support that, you know.
Exactly. And that's where, because we have other artists we work with where they don't care. They don't care about owning a house. That's not a big deal to them. It wasn't for you for a long time. You own a house now, but for a long time, it wasn't a priority to you in any way. Rent was just fine. And most artists are fine with that. You know, it's not a big deal. So our core values define what comfortable is going to be for us. And that's going to define what success looks like, you know, for us. Yeah. And I mean, for myself as an artist, I had the experience of chasing a record deal and being offered a record deal, having zero understanding of what that meant. And I had 3 young kids at the time. And I knew nothing about anything. And people were like, you need a record deal. You need a record deal. And I had friends like emailing, or it's not then, mailing, like letter mailing, you know, like Celine Dion's management company and Renee, like all of this total madness, because none of us knew, and behind my back, I might add, not telling me, because I would have been like, don't do that. I knew enough to know, don't do that. But, you know, people who just loved me and loved my music and wanted me to make it, you know. So anyways, all of that led to this record deal offer. But, you know, I was walking through, and there, like, when I finally understood what would be asked of me, and they're like, oh yeah, it's 2 years, no family, no friends, to really dive into this. I was like, oh, no, I've got 3 young kids. I can't do any of the stuff that you want me to do. And so that was how I learned how that worked. And so success for me was never international stadium touring. I wanted to be a mom first. Like, I didn't want anything for me to get in the way of that. That was my priority. And then now success for me as an artist is pretty much, you know, what you've defined is just, you know, I've less and less sort of desire to really build a huge audience as an artist. I like putting music out and writing music and putting it out. I really love when music is really helpful to people. So that's what I'm more and more drawn to, is using music, you know, as a healing energy and stuff. And I find a great sense of purpose in the mentorship work that I do. So my success as a coach and a mentor is when the client I'm working with or the artist I'm working with discovers within themselves what success means to them, and from a real place of connection. And it, you know, I can think of some artists where, you know, the success was just finding a way to have music in their life and not cause a divorce in their family, not, you know, use all of their savings, still be able to provide for their family, and find a way to balance music in a way, and to sort of align expectations and sort of decondition all the toxic crap about what making it is, and build a life for yourself that brings you joy and has music as part of that in a non-stressful way that's really fun and joyful, and balancing the financial relationship, like the money in, money out part. So I love that work so much. That is, like, I find it that is very satisfying. And when somebody reaches that, you know, version of success for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's it too, is like, again, with all the different clients that we work with, all of them, it's really funny. I love what you said, is comfortable living is also something that's so different for every person. You know what I mean?
Like, you would sleep in your car.
Oh, I could never
sleep in my car.
I've slept in hostels with like 16 other people. I would still do that today. Like, there's no part of me that's like needs anything more than that, right? And it's the same. Like, I want to just have a dog at some point, and live in a little house. Like, that's comfortable for me, right? We're comfortable for both of you. Tara, you literally have a pond in your backyard. I would like a sauna.
I don't sleep in my pond. But
I said backyard,
I
not
float
house.
on my pond.
I would like a sauna one day.
Right.
But like, it's...
Well, there's obviously, I wouldn't say no if like a more than comfortable living came along. Let's just make that clear. I wouldn't say no to it.
Exactly.
We're not saying no to bigger opportunities, but it's that sense of making your success, right? Like, and again, like for me, it's going to be a little different. Like, I want to tour 6 months of the year. I want to tour Canada, the US, and Europe. Like, those are where I want to go.
Some artists love touring. That's all they want to do. Some artists are like, I'll do what I have to do, but like, I'd rather make music in my house and just put stuff out online. Like, everybody's version, like everybody's goals are different.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it too. And I think when you get down to the core root of what actually making it and success is to you, like, that's all that matters. You know what I mean?
It's the hardest part. The hardest part is letting go of other people's definition of success to place on you. And it's an internal thing. It's not external. So when you learn to stop using external markers for validation and feeling good about yourself, that's when your true life and artistry really, really starts. Because when you're making decisions for yourself and what brings you joy and happiness and staying connected so that that creative force can flow through you into the world, and your life's purpose kind of comes into view and all that stuff, that's really truly freeing. When we're really bound by others' expectations, and it's a version of codependency where you're making all your decisions based on external things, like, what does this mean? And if I don't have a top 10, and if I don't sell 1 million units, and all of this stuff, like it can be a really hard way to live. So you just kind of want to create the separation between understanding the business and all of that data and math and economics, and not have it affect you from an emotional standpoint.
100%. And like, I remember having a conversation with one of our clients, and she was performing at a festival with a couple other like country artists, and all the girls were together talking, and one of the other country female artists was like, oh man, I can't wait till the day where we make it and all this stuff. And our client looked at her and she was like, I've already made it. All I want to do in life is play my own music. That's all I want to do. And I'm doing that. I get to write my own songs. I get to record them and release them and play them, and people like it and people are listening. But like, that's all I've ever wanted to do. And I get to do that every day. Like, that to me is making it. And for me, I'm like, when she had said that, I was like, yes, like, we can have higher goals for ourselves.
And you can still have additional goals and things to work
towards. Exactly. It's not like this is the only thing. And your goals can change. Every year they can change. Every day they can change. Well, hopefully not drastically every day, but right? Like, they can evolve. And once you reach a goal, there's another goal that you want to hit. But it's also being happy and being in joy on the journey of going there. And
not chasing fame.
And not chasing
It's the
fame
piece that's so tangled up with that whole making it thing. And the fame thing is a whole other conversation podcast in and of itself, but it is not what it appears to be. And often what people are searching for when they think fame is so attractive is a sense of belonging, a sense of being seen, being heard, and being validated. But fame can actually do the opposite. And there's so many examles, but it can be really isolating. It can do the opposite of that. And other than, guaranteeing a great table at a restaurant, if you call and ask, it can be really paralyzing and really limit your movements in the world in a certain way, and
again, you really need to understand what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
And then within it, if you end up in that place, which again, we're not saying is a bad, terrible place that no one should ever go, but you need to know what you're signing up for, and you need to, like, within that ecosystem, once you find yourself in it, not that like I've been there, but I would imagine you have to really be clear on like what your boundaries are, and create time and space like for yourself or your family or whoever else is in your life, and whoever else is important to you. There's a lot of challenges in that world.
It's like, it's like envisioning how you want your life to be, and then going about that. Do you know what I mean? Because if fame is all you want, but then you realize like, well, I want to be able to go and do things in private. You're not necessarily going to have that depending on like the fame. You know what I mean? Like not wanting people to follow you around. You want to be able to walk and go to grocery stores without like people hounding you. Like, these are things
it can become more challenging to know which relationships in your life are truly authentic.
Exactly. Right. So I think a good way to start finding out what success means to you and what making it means to you is like, envision your life. How do you want to live your life? Where do you want to spend energy? And then look at how, like,
and then does that piece of music, however it looks to you, how does that fit into the life that you want?
Yeah.
Exactly.
For some people that is their whole life. At the end, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that's okay if that's 100%. What truly brings you joy and happiness.
Like, decide what it is for you, and then go make it.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God, yes. I was just going to ask what's a great way to start, but I think that you just answered it right away. Decide it isn't a place.
What is it?
It's not like you've played this location and that means you've made it. Decide what the it is. What is your it?
Because there is no there.
There's no there.
That's the other thing to really, there is no there. There is no arrival point. There is no point in time where in the future down the road where you're like, this is it. I'm here. I've arrived. That is only ever in the now.
100%.
It's right now. That's it. So whatever your life looks like now, that's what it is.
Yeah.
There
It's
is
not
no
like
there. There is no arrival point.
The
It's just a
24th
journey.
of November in 2056, I officially will make it. I will be
That's not a
there
thing.
on that date. That's not
No.
it. So yeah, I think that's a great place to kind of end this. Figure out what your it is and then
Go
make it. Or like we end every podcast, do what you want.
Follow your joy.
Follow your joy.
Follow what feels
Do
good.
what you want.
Do
Hopefully, some of this information was helpful for you. If not, thanks for just hanging out with us. I'm Jessica.
But let us know what you think too.
Oh, yes.
Like,
Let us
let
know
us
what
know
you
what you think in the
think.
comments. Yeah.
Yeah, let us know what your making it is. Take a second. Let us know down below what your making it is. Also, if there are other topics you want us to discuss or talk about or explain, write them in the comments as well. Let us know, and we'll talk about it because we love to talk. But I'm Jessica.
I'm Tara.
I'm Sam.
And thanks for joining us on the Syn Wagon, everyone. Thanks for coming for the ride. We will see you next time. Cue theme song.